Having fun?
Oh, I'm having even more fun now that you're here.
Once upon a time, hidden deep in a spooky forest surrounded by towering mountains, there was a very special place called Hotel Transylvania. This grand, mysterious hotel was built by Count Dracula himself, the most famous vampire in the world, to be a safe and welcoming spot for monsters of all kinds. From werewolves to mummies, invisible men to witches, every creature knew that Hotel Transylvania was where they could go to relax, enjoy themselves, and be free from the worries of the human world. Dracula was not only the proud owner of Hotel Transylvania, he was also a dedicated father to his only daughter, Mavis. Unlike the usual scary image of vampires, Dracula was a loving, if sometimes overprotective dad who adored Mavis more than anything. Ever since she was a baby, he had done everything in his power to keep her safe from humans. Long ago, humans had hunted monsters, fearing and misunderstanding them. Dracula believed that even after centuries, humans would still see monsters as threats. So, to protect Mavis and his fellow creatures, he had built the hotel in a remote area, hidden from humans, and never allowed her to explore the world beyond its walls. The hotel was a marvel of spooky luxury, with rooms tailored to the unique needs of each guest. The werewolves had rooms with wide, comfortable beds for their many pups, mummies had warm, dry rooms to keep them from getting too damp, and vampires had their own suites with blackout curtains and cozy coffins. Dracula and his staff worked hard to ensure every guest had a perfect stay, offering everything from slimy swamp baths to ghost-friendly meals. As our story begins, Mavis is just about to celebrate her 118th birthday, a significant milestone for vampires because it's when they're considered grown up. Like many teenagers, Mavis dreamed of seeing the world. She wanted to experience the wonders outside the hotel, especially the human world she had only heard about. Dracula, however, was terrified by the thought of her leaving, convinced that humans would harm her. He'd spent years telling Mavis frightening stories of humans, hoping to keep her safe within the walls of a Hotel Transylvania. To him, the world outside was full of danger. For her birthday, Dracula planned an incredible party, inviting monsters from all corners of the world to celebrate. The hotel was bustling with guests. Frankenstein, a big, gentle creature with a heart of gold, Wayne and Wanda, the werewolf couple with a chaotic pack of pups, Murray the mummy, a fun-loving jokester wrapped in ancient bandages, and Griffin, the invisible man, who loved to play tricks on the other guests since he was impossible to see. Dracula went to great lengths to make Mavis's birthday unforgettable. He even staged a fake human village outside the hotel, complete with actors pretending to be angry villagers. His plan was to scare Mavis out of wanting to leave by showing her how dangerous humans could be. Dressed in a ridiculous disguise with a big mustache and floppy hat, Dracula played the role of a scary human who warned Mavis to stay away. Seeing this, Mavis returned to the hotel, deciding that maybe her father had been right about the dangers of humans. But then, something unexpected happened that changed everything. A young human traveler named Jonathan accidentally stumbled upon Hotel Transylvania. Johnny, as he preferred to be called, was a cheerful, adventurous backpacker with bright red hair and a love for exploring new places. He had no idea he'd wandered into a hotel full of monsters and was thrilled by the idea of discovering this strange, spooky place. When Dracula first saw Johnny, he panicked. No human had ever set foot in Hotel Transylvania before, and he feared that Johnny's presence would ruin everything. If the other monsters found out a human was among them, they might be terrified, and the hotel's reputation would be destroyed. Thinking quickly, Dracula disguised Johnny as Johnny Steen, a Frankenstein-like monster cousin. Johnny went along with the disguise, intrigued by the bizarre situation he'd found himself in. Despite his disguise, Johnny's bright personality and friendly nature quickly made him popular among the guests. He joined in the festivities, showing off his wild dance moves, laughing with the other monsters, and even impressing Dracula's closest friends. Mavis, who had never met a human before, was especially captivated by Johnny. She was fascinated by his stories of the outside world, from bustling cities to breathtaking natural landscapes. Johnny's curiosity and zest for life inspired her, and she couldn't help but be drawn to his kindness and enthusiasm. As Mavis and Johnny spent time together, their bond grew. They explored hidden parts of the hotel, shared stories, and laughed together. For Mavis, Johnny represented the freedom she had always dreamed of but never thought she'd experience. And for Johnny, Mavis was a beautiful, kind-hearted friend who made the monster world feel like home. Dracula, however, wasn't happy at all. He couldn't stand the thought of his daughter falling for a human. He still saw Johnny as a threat and didn't trust him to understand their way of life. Determined to keep them apart, Dracula came up with all sorts of tricks and schemes. He sabotaged their time together, pulling Johnny aside for monster lessons that were meant to keep him away from Mavis. Yet, despite Dracula's best efforts, Mavis and Johnny found ways to be together, and with each passing day, they grew closer. Eventually, the truth came out. Johnny wasn't a monster, but a human. The guests were shocked, and Mavis was heartbroken, feeling betrayed by the secret. Johnny, devastated to see Mavis hurt, decided to leave the hotel to protect her and the monster world he had grown to love. As he walked away, Mavis realized that Johnny wasn't like the humans her father had warned her about. He was kind, open-hearted, and brave, willing to accept monsters just as they were. Seeing his daughter's sadness, Dracula realized he had been wrong about Johnny. He remembered how much he had loved Mavis's mother, who had been lost to him because of human fears. But Johnny was different, and it was clear that he cared deeply for Mavis. Finally, Dracula decided to overcome his fears and chase after Johnny, realizing he'd do anything to make his daughter happy. Dracula flew after Johnny, catching up to him in a nearby town. In an emotional moment, Dracula apologized and asked Johnny to come back, confessing that Mavis loved him and that he was willing to give him a chance. Johnny, touched by Dracula's change of heart, returned to Hotel Transylvania, where he was welcomed back with open arms by the monsters. Over time, Mavis and Johnny's love story continued to grow. They eventually got married in a spectacular monster wedding, where humans and monsters celebrated together for the first time. The guests cheered as Mavis and Johnny danced under the moonlight, breaking down the centuries-old walls between humans and monsters. And a few years later, Mavis and Johnny had a son named Dennis, a half-human, half-vampire child who brought even more joy and excitement to Hotel Transylvania. Dennis was an adorable little boy with curly hair and a playful smile. Dracula adored him, but was secretly worried about whether Dennis would inherit his vampire powers. Determined to bring out Dennis's vampire side, Dracula took Dennis on daring adventures, hoping to trigger his abilities. He even roped in his old friends to help with the vampire training, leading to hilarious and chaotic situations. But Dennis seemed happy just being himself, more interested in playing with his friends than flying or sprouting fangs. One day, Dracula's father, Vlad, a much older, more traditional vampire, came to visit, shocked to discover that his family was now connected to humans. Vlad was initially critical of Johnny and Dennis, feeling that the vampire way was fading. But after a series of amusing misunderstandings and wild family antics, Vlad came to appreciate the love and happiness that Johnny and Dennis brought to the family. He realized that times had changed, and maybe it wasn't so bad after all. Over the years, Hotel Transylvania transformed from a secluded hideaway for monsters to a unique haven where humans and monsters could coexist. Guests from all walks of life came to stay, eager to experience the magic of a world where everyone, monster or human, could feel accepted. The hotel buzzed with life, laughter, and the delightful chaos of monsters and humans learning to live together. Hotel Transylvania remained a place of fun, family, and friendship, where everyone was welcome to celebrate what made them unique. And as Dracula watched his family grow, he knew he had created something truly special, a world where monsters and humans could finally find peace, happiness, and a little bit of spooky magic together.